video here on A+ SimRacing. In this video we're going to be taking a look at some of the highlights from the weekend's race in Raceroom's special ranked event, 2 hours at Road America. Here we are on the grid, getting ready to start this race. I've somehow found myself on pole position, beating the next driver's time by less than a tenth. With the start lights about ready to go out, 2 hours of Road America starts right now. And it looks like I've got a really good start, minimal wheel spin. I'm already starting to pull a gap on the rest of the field. I'm going to try and use that to my advantage so I can take it easy through the first lap with cold tires and cold brakes. I really don't want to push too hard. Coming up to turn 2 now on the first lap, and we can see in the back there Hoffman has gained a position. Coming out of turn 2, it looks like Graves has gone wide, and that gives Hoffman the opportunity to gain another position. Coming up to the next heavy braking zone at the end of the straight, I can see Price is getting close. He's probably going to want to make a move. So let's take a look on board. Goes to the inside, so give him the room. I'm not going to fight because the tires are cold. Let him have it, and I come in right behind. I'll try and keep the pressure on. Now Price is in the lead, followed by myself, then Hoffman, then Graves, and Bingaman. Well, let's go back and take a look how the race start was for the GT3 cars. We're on the start grid, about to get underway. We can see one of the DPIs has got a little bit of lag, probably bogged down by the traction control, and we've got a big collision. Looks like one of the other drivers has glitched their way through. Let's take another look at that from the start. We get going, we can see the Mercedes runs out of room, makes contact with the DPI, and carnage ensues. And ahead of all that carnage, coming up to turn 1, pay attention to that Ferrari and the DPi coming up on it now. And that is one of the weirdest things I have seen, so let's take a look. From this view, it looks like the DPi drives right through the Ferrari. And as we get a better look, we can see that's exactly what happens. For some reason, the Ferrari shoots off to the left, while the DPi just continues on through the turn. Now, there is a bug in Raceroom where sometimes online, a car will be completely invisible on track. You won't see it on radar or anything, and I think that's what happened there. So while that's really unfortunate, it's just one of those things you can't always avoid in online racing. Coming up to the carousel now, you can see Hoffman goes a little bit wide, and it looks like Graves is going to try and take advantage of that, and he gets the job done. Nearing the end of the first lap now, I'm trying my best to keep close to Price in P1, while still being careful on cold tires and having cold brakes. Usually at this point in a race, they're starting to get up to temperature, but I still don't trust them. Coming up to Canada corner now, you gotta be careful because it's easy to lose control when your tires are cold here. And just as I say that, Price ahead loses it, and I have to take evading action. Wow, that was close. Let's take another look at that one. And there he goes. Yeah, just loses grip in the rear, so the tires are too cold on the first lap. That gives me an opportunity to get back in the lead and try and pull a gap on Graves, who's chasing close behind. Coming up to the end of the first lap now, I'm in the lead, followed closely by Graves, and then behind them is Bingaman and Hoffman battling for third position. It's a long race ahead, so at this point I'm just trying my best to have clean laps, to pull a gap on the cars behind, and manage my tires. And tire management in this is going to be really important in my strategy, because my plan is to take the hard tires for 2 stints, so I run the tank dry, fill it up, do another full stint, and then change the tires to medium, fill the tank, and then make a run to the end. But in order to make that happen, I have to be careful and not push too hard and wear the tires out too early in the race. Coming up to Corvette corner now, Graves is still close behind. You can see in the back that Hoffman and Bingaman are still fighting, and Graves goes around, loses grip in Corvette corner. That's unfortunate, but it works to my favor and gives me a comfortable lead. Let's jump forward to about lap 10 where we start catching up to the GT3s. Aside from the few stragglers, this is the first group of GT3s that I've come across. And it's still early in the race, so I'm trying to be careful, and I stick a little bit too close to the inside and get the grass a little bit. You can see here I get boxed in, there's really nowhere to go on the left, so I have to try and slot in and be patient until I got room to move over. And there we go. Now skipping forward to lap 21, we can see the first DPi going in for their pit stop. This is Bingaman, who is currently in P2, and as they enter the pits, I'm heading towards turn 1, so there's a little bit of a gap. My first pit stop is coming up at the end of this lap, and I'll only be taking fuel, so I'm hoping by not taking tires, I'll be saving enough time that I can open up more of a gap on the drive behind. In order to make that work, I've got to be really careful about the tires. I made it happen in practice, I know I can do it. Going into this race really confident, I was sure I had a good, solid strategy. Moving forward a bit, we can take a look at one of the mistakes I made coming out of the carousel here, coming up on a GT3. I should have been a little more patient and lined up to pass them on the right side. Instead, got a little bit wonky and went into the grass. Let's fast forward to the end of the lap. Here we are coming up Thunder Road on the end of lap 22, and just as I'm getting ready to come into the pits, Bingaman is coming out. And now as I come in for my first pit stop in this long race, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident, I have a comfortable lead, looks like things are going my way. I made sure to slow amply so I didn't get a drive-through penalty for speeding. I practiced my pit stops, and I still missed my pit box. But I had a comfortable lead, so that's a minor hiccup. All I have to do is focus on the next stint going forward. You can see the next DPi coming in for their pit as I'm pulling out. There's Graves going in for his pit stop. And I come out of the pit and back into the race. Now at this point, I'm leading the race, followed by Graves, but Bingaman's already done their stop, so there's a chance they could overtake Graves with the undercut strategy. And we'll just have to see how that plays out. So let's fast forward a bit and take a look at an incident that happened at turn 1 a few laps later. So there goes Bingaman. And I think that's Hoffman and Pardo. That looks like a heavy hit. That could be a race ender. Let's take a look at that from Hoffman's view. It doesn't look like there was too much he can do. He was trying to hold to the inside, but he's coming up on that GT3 real fast. And this is a weird one because the GT3 looks like it's coming over to the right, where usually in that turn there would be more over to the left. So I don't know if there was some kind of netcode thing that made the GT3 start turning in before the contact happened. I'm not sure. Those kinds of netcode issues don't usually happen in Raceroom, so I can't really think of what else it would be. Now if we move forward a few more laps, I'm at a point in my race where I'm starting to notice that my strategy might not work out so great after all. Because my front tires are wearing down a little bit faster than they were in my previous practice sessions, so I must have been pushing a little bit too hard through the first stint, wearing them down less than 55% by the time I did my first pit stop. So that's the first sign of trouble, and now I start thinking about how I can change my strategy on the fly, and that's never a good thing. But the thing I was worried about was having a blowout when the tire gets down, when it's in flashing red. Anytime below 50% you run the risk, but when it gets down to like 15 to 10%, then you've really got a big risk. And that's what I was going to be facing if I didn't do something about it. So I decided I was going to pit and change just the front tires, and I really wish I had been a little bit more careful in how I selected it, because I ended up taking 2 mediums in the front instead of 2 hards, which would have been a little bit less grippy, so there's less of a difference. And of course, I missed my pit box again. Now coming into the pit lane, I had a comfortable lead, but there goes Bingaman. So now I am in P2, and he is now in P1 as I come out of the pit box with fresh front tires. I don't have to worry about the risk of a blowout, but now I have to manage different grip levels between the front and the rear. That's a big challenge. So on my outlap, I do my best to try and get some heat into the tires and try and get a feel for it, and I'm already noticing that there is a lot more grip in the front than the rear. This is probably going to be a little more difficult than I thought. And here's what happens. Spin number 1. Here comes number 2. Guess what's coming up here? Yeah, that's right, number 3. But wait, there's more. Here's number 4. And just when I thought I couldn't get any worse, it didn't. I actually caught that one. Psych. But just for good measure, here's number 6. And these were all the result of having too much grip in the front and having very worn tires in the rear. So it would have been much better if I had planned ahead and changed the front tires to fresh hard tires, not medium, at my first stop, or just changed all the tires and gone with mediums the whole time. Moving on then, coming up to a back marker, and I can see I've got Graves behind, not too far. So I've got to try and get by this car quick. Going up Thunder Road, and hopefully they come between me and Graves behind, but I saw him in my mirror, and here's from his view. GT3 doesn't come between us, so that's not going to give me a buffer. Just got to keep on pushing. And if things weren't already bad enough, here's where it really fell apart in this stint. Trying to pass a GT3 on the outside of the carousel and just getting a little bit in the grass. You can see it from Graves' view there as he passes, moves up to P2, and leaves me in the dust. Literally. So here's a view from the trackside. You can see I just got 2 tires into the grass while I was trying to go around the outside, and that's all it takes. So after all that, I finally get to lap 44, my next and final pit stop, full tank, fresh medium tires, full set, and away we go, trying to push to the end. And now that I have a full set of fresh medium tires, I'm a lot more confident, so I can start pushing and try and use the last 20 laps to make up some of those positions I lost. And looking ahead, we can see Graves got tagged by GT3. Let's take a look at what happened there. Here you can see he comes across in front of the GT3 under braking, which is something you really should never do, and that's why. There was nothing the GT3 could do about that. And here I am, just around the corner, coming up behind Graves, chasing him down and trying to take advantage of that mistake. We are later on in the lap. We're both trying to get by this GT3 as we approach Canada Corner. And it looks like it's job done and all fine, but take a look in the mirror. You can see that GT3 coming real close up behind. Let's take a look at what happened there. This is one of those moments where I had no idea how lucky I was until I saw this replay. That was so close. And here we can see the GT3 got 2 tires in the grass just before the braking. They tried to chuck it out of the way. I would have tried to chuck it to the left and go straight on ahead, but it managed to miss me, so no harm, no foul. But that was a close one. Moving forward a bit, I want to start-finish trying to chase down Graves here while we both prepare to lap this DPi back marker. And you can see Graves goes up the inside and he locks his wheels and loses grip, goes around. And that's me up to P2, and that's unfortunate for Graves. But I'll take advantage of that. Thank you. And I make a move by this back marker DPi, who gives me plenty of room, and I got the job done before braking. And away we go. No worry about spinning now with all these grippy tires, and looks like the DPi behind goes around. So let's take a look at what happened there. You can see he's coming up to a GT3. It looks like he tries to dive off the inside, but there just isn't room. I don't think it was reasonable to expect the GT3 to give you room there. I think what you should have done was gone around the outside or just been a little bit more patient on the throttle and then overtake them as you're coming out of the turn exit. And here we are with the race leader on the final lap, coming up to the final turn. It looks like Bingaman is going to win the 2 hours of Road America in the DPi class and overall. And here is Bingaman weaving back and forth in celebration as he crosses the finish line and wins the 2 hours of Road America. Here comes myself in P2. And in P3 we have Graves. That's the top 3 for the DPIs. And your winner for the GT3s is a driver named Ray, followed by some of the drivers that are a lap down in the midfield. In second place for the GT3s is Almeida. And to round off the podium for GT3s in P3 we have Kawarati. And that brings to an end the 2 hours of Road America. And there I have some celebration burnouts. I didn't win, but I did get the fastest lap, and P2 isn't bad. And all in all, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.